Good morning and happy Friday, friends. As you can see, this hair is growing all over the place, which I'm embracing it, but it's time for a haircut. So I have that coming up tomorrow. But I wanted to get on here really quick and do a really good book review. This young lady that I saw on TikTok, she recommended that every African American woman reads this book. Let me see if I can find it real quick without showing too many pictures. I'm at a friend's house, family friend's house, so I don't want to expose too many pictures of their child on here. Let me see. Oh, I got it right here. This book, I'm not finished reading it yet, but it's called The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women. It is so eye-opening, but it reminds me of the things that I've been thinking about recently, just in totality of life and, getting ready to embrace another decade next year. So far, from what I gathered, I don't want to give the book away too much, because if you're a reader like me, you want to really dive in deep into a really good book. But the reason why, from what I've collected so far from this book, I just dropped the bookmark. Thankfully, I know where I'm at. So one of the things that I have gathered from just reading this book is that there is an identity crisis going on, and there's a lot of insecurities that are going on that we as human race are trying to do our best to cover up through many different ways, right? And before I make the statement, this is not an anti-white statement, not at all, because my Caucasian brothers and sisters in Christ, I got love for them too, so this is not an anti-white statement, okay? And just to be mindful, this goes a little bit into white supremacy. Okay, so just FYI, if you have little ones who are not, aware of what white supremacy is, I'd rather you as the parent or guardian teach your little ones about white supremacy. Okay, so got that out the way, said those two things, boom. So in totality with white supremacy, it's already been known, it's already have been proven, it's already been stated that white persons or white people or non-black people, or excuse me, not non-black people, but basically white people, white persons or Caucasians, have already been deemed and have already realized that they are the superior race, right? However, like most of us humans, we have insecurities, right? But what I've noted in reading this book, making sure I quote this correctly, if anybody's read this book, correct me if I'm wrong. White supremacy, what it does is that it takes primarily white men in different institutions and different organizations and bond together to create a sense of conquer first so you won't get conquered ever. And that it could be done in institutions, it could be done through organizations, it's done by certain professions, that based off of you being a white man, you are superior above everybody. Now, that's not to say that, oh, it's pointing out in this curriculum or that curriculum. It just depends on what's out there. Basically, the white male, the job is to be able to find a place of security to get involved in an organization with other white men to encourage domination. Okay. And in encouraging domination, like I said, it can happen in many different forms. It can happen in institutions, it can happen in job occupations, corporate America, politics. Okay. There's different areas of where, hey, band here so we can make sure that you have what you need so you can be dominant in all things that you do, right? And in that, in being the dominant one, making sure that you conquer and don't let yourself be conquered in these organizations, in certain aspects of political standing, whatever the case may be, individuals can create situations or scenarios that keep them always on top, right? So in that, like I said, there's so much in the middle. We're not gonna go into that. I encourage you to read that book. But in that, the goal is that, okay, so I'm just gonna use an obvious, just a little example, right? Okay, so if you have ants, there's a lot of ants. There's more ants than you, right? And I'm not comparing any race to an ant, okay? I'm just using an example. There's a lot of ants. There's more ants than you and whomever is occupying your home, right? So your goal is to stop the ants from coming inside, okay? And so what are you going to do to stop the ants from coming inside? You're going to do what is necessary to keep those ants from coming inside and invading your home. Okay, so you're going to lay down ant traps. You're going to lay down the gel. You're going to call an exterminator. You're going to do anything by any means necessary to make sure that your home and you are not conquered by ants. Okay, that is just an example. All right, ants are not to be compared to any race at any point. Okay, so in white supremacy, in different organizations, the white male's job is to be able to do what is necessary to prevent from being overpowered. Okay, and this has been dated back to slavery days, and like I said, I won't go too deep into slavery. I want the parental figure or the guardian of that child to teach about slavery. Okay, but just to be real with you, slavery was not a moment in American history. It was all peaches and flowers and sweet. Okay. So, but anyway, you're thinking of just using small reference of slavery. In slavery, when you had families of Africans, they're Americans, so because they reside there, Africans where they're being sold and sent off. Generally speaking, the one that was always sold the most was the black male. Okay. And so, or generally the black male who was the one that was working the most or was exposed to abuse the most. And so oftentimes the black male is separated from the family. Okay. And in that has created the black woman to be in a position to be able to hold down the home while they were gone, while they were apart from their family, or while they were gone for long periods of time and that type of thing. That was just, or, if they're subjected to abuse, they were the ones primarily exposed to it. Not saying that that was exclusive, but primarily, exposed to it. So enough of slavery. So you think about it, okay? This is very generational. African-American women lead the households for the most part. Case in point, my mom was the head of household for a very long period of time before she remarried. And kind of sort of even then, she was still head of household. But, my grandmother was in the home. The book references the importance of our elders, right? But essentially, being the head of the household is what my mom knew, growing up, that, hey, I have to hold this down. There's nobody else going to do it. My children are not going to feed themselves, so I have to do what I need to do to get it done. And oftentimes, it's very similar to what a woman has seen from a previous generation, seen another woman do. Hey, man ain't in the home, or there's no real strong male figure in the home. I'm going to do what I need to do to get this done. I need to take care of it, that type of thing. Okay. And as a result, sometimes, and I'm not using any other examples or anything of that nature, sometimes because the male figure hasn't been in the home, sometimes us women, primarily black women, we sometimes get into relationships just because, hey, this is the first brother that pays me attention and XYZ. And then because the black man has been subjected to various forms of systemic abuse. The book talks about how black boys are represent the majority of the population who are diagnosed with ADHD, and as a result, because of the classes they're put in, the medication they're put on, they grow to hate education and they grow to hate school. Not every black boy, but the majority. Okay, so you get them in a position where they're never going to be successful in life. You teach them that this is as far as you could go. You can't go any further. Not all black boys, because I'm going to use my brother. My brother, he had a learning disability, done very well. I have another brother who's diagnosed with ADHD, doing very well. Okay, so that's not everybody. All right, that's a whole nother conversation about ADHD and learning disabilities. I firmly believe, part of my nutrition rant, I firmly believe that if you change up your diet, if you treat food as medicine, none of that stuff will exist. But anyway, that's not what I'm here for. But basically, black men or black boys are exposed early to think that they're not going to do any better in life. And so as a result of a diagnosis. And so they grow up hating school. They don't want nothing to do with school. They come out of school, college, they're told early, oh, college is not for you. So then they're going to do everything else. And oftentimes they're going to act out of frustration of their own insecurities, right? And so from what I've learned from this book is that whenever we have an insecurity, we're going to find a way to cover it up, regardless of ethnic background, doesn't even matter. So one of the things just to be mindful of when it comes to the black man is that sometimes when they're hiding insecurity somewhere, sometimes it is covered up with different activities. I'm not gonna say activities because this is a kid-friendly page. By certain activities, certain objects, certain things, and sometimes a woman is involved, is covered under that blanket of such exposure to abuse, right? And so then that leaves black women tainted. They might be feeling some kind of way. There might be, trauma that's tied to that. And then who sees that? Their children, right? And that cycle is just going to continue over and over and over again. So that's just kind of the awareness that the book has created in terms of the conspiracy to destroy black women. However, we do have power in our voice, okay? It is the power that is within us through Jesus Christ that we need to reclaim what our identity is. The book does discuss, basically, and someone did mention this on social media, that the concept of femininity, this is what you need to do to enhance your feminine look and XYZ, and this is blah, blah, blah. What I've come to realize is that this stuff is marketed to mostly black women because I guess the question that I have for myself and as anybody that is listening to the sound of my voice is that, are we doing this stuff because we want to look good? And where does that status, where did you come up with that establishment that you have to look good? Like, where did it come from? Is it conforming to kind of a white society? Like, some of us have issues with having broad noses and big lips and curly hair, which I got a whole lot of curly hair. Or are we adapting to what white male or white supremacy has set up as, oh, well, if you could do this because that's the standard. The standard is having straight hair, pointy noses, being light skinned. Let me talk about that for a hot second. I think we're destroying each other by having colorism issues. Okay, we're straight up, oh, I don't date light-skinned women. I actually did have a man in college tell me that you're so freaking gorgeous for a dark-skinned girl. That's a thing, okay? And so we're tearing each other up just by doing that. But anyway, with the bleaching of the skin and the super straightening of the hair and the chemicals, I'm not saying that that's not what you want to do or whatever. And if it works for you, that works for you. That is a good thing. But, I'm definitely embracing curly hair and I love my curly hair. But I remember why I stopped getting relaxers 20 years ago now, because I just remember it was drying up my scalp. I was like, I hate this. And I wanted straight hair too. And consequently, I ended up getting straight hair when I was 12 years old. That was my first relaxer at 12. I straightened my hair to be attracted to a white boy in middle school. Okay. So, it's just things to really think about, like in terms of the beauty standard and like who set that standard for you. So the Bible does, and I just think of Proverbs 31. The Bible sets the standard for us as women and being feminine. I guess, people might be terrified that they don't want to, that they think that going by that biblical standard of what feminism is. But truthfully, like if I remember, if my Bible says it correctly, like, a Proverbs 31 woman is priceless. I mean, her husband, the husband of a Proverbs 31 woman, trust her with his whole life. And then she's got a business acumen. She takes care of her kids. She does her thing. I'm not saying that, you have to have kids to be a Proverbs 31 woman. You can be a Proverbs 31 woman by just thinking about how you present yourself in the kingdom of God, if it comes out correctly. I don't mean for it to come out like, oh, well, you have to do that. No. You know what I'm saying? You can be sexy and be covered up. Okay. You could totally look great and be fully covered up. You could totally look great and only have on chapstick. Okay. You don't need 20-inch long lashes, 20-inch long nails. That's not always the standard. However, if you love it and it makes you feel good, by all means, you do that thing, sis. Okay. But the book where it says Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women, basically it's almost like a rat race that as Black women, we're always trying to keep up with it. We're always trying to keep up with our counterparts that work in corporate America. We're trying to keep up with our counterparts that, in the movie business, our counterparts in the beauty industry. We're always in this rat race. And it's about time for us as Black women, once you receive that knowledge, not only to find out who we are, come out of this identity crisis whirlwind, know who you are, find identity as a daughter of the Most High. And with that strength that we have empowered through us, that Christ has given us, speak up for our communities. And not be timid, and speak up for what you deserve. If you know that you worked hard on that job, and you've worked hard in getting your degrees, and you have the experience, and you have the action and the traction and the movement, then it's time for us to say in our minds, like, I really do deserve this opportunity. I can do this, or from a public health perspective, me personally, this author gave me an idea to look deeper into the school system and how they analyze a child having a learning disability / ADHD. And are those questions broad enough? Like, do they address, like, before you give a child ADHD, like maybe a dietitian can get involved and alter lunches or go into school lunches and figure out, like, hey, maybe there's a correlation here between, just kind of giving a child whatever it is that they want, or just giving them just whatever, as opposed to giving a child food that is nutrient dense, and if there is a child that is going home hungry, that's the only meal they're getting for the day, addressing that need by incorporating different questions in different surveys to address what the parent needs, okay, or the guardian, that type of thing, or addressing, any other factors within the home. Is there any, are there any, like, are you the head of the household? And what is going on with that, or how many people are within the household. So I definitely would like to get deeper into that and being able to really explore, making sure that these questions that making sure that we're really servicing the child and the parent by asking these questions and providing a service that will help grow the child and help the parent. Because ultimately, schooling also has to happen at home. It can't be just on the teacher doing all the work, okay? But at the same time, if we ask the right questions, we can be more resourceful as a community. We can be more resourceful for our teachers. Because let me tell you, baby, the teachers that love their job and are they're committed to the students, man, they don't make enough. I mean, every teacher in the United States needs like a $25,000 pay raise wherever they are. Like, the base salary for teaching should be like 65, 70. I'm not even joking. But and that's just straight out of coming out of school. It should go upward from there. It should not, because the amount of resources that they need to help the child thrive, that's important. And I feel like that as an African-American woman that is educated, and it doesn't mean that because I have a doctorate that I'm more educated than you. If you got an associate's degree, or if you're a reader, I know people that are millionaires, and how they achieve success through being a millionaire is all they do is read all day. Okay, if you are knowledgeable and educated and know what's going on, then it's time that as Black women that we stand up and we use our voices more. And we, advocate for our community's behalf, that we advocate for our children, that we advocate for our Black men, that we advocate for our Black boys, and that we advocate for programs, prison programs, which this book used at prison as basically another version of a plantation. Whole nother topic, but just thinking about it, like it's very eye opening. Doesn't make me anti-white. I still love my brothers and my white brothers and sisters. Does not make me anti-white at all, but it makes me proactive to know who I am and whose I am and be aware of my identity and address insecurities. Like if there's any insecurities that I'm facing at the moment, then I need to figure out how to work those out. So, but that's all I got. I don't want to give the book away too much. I hope you guys take the time to really get the book. The book name is The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women. This book is such an eye-opener. I'm actually going to, read his other book from a public health standpoint and figure out ways to get involved with my community in Kentucky to advocate on their behalf. You guys be blessed.